Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Our first story of 4 will be about Karen, who wanted to fire her coworker. Let's see if she made it. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story. Satisfying. The timesheet police. Backstory: our company has a very strict rule when it comes to salary-exempt employees. Not even sure if it's legal, but okay. You have to submit a timesheet at the beginning of each month. The only thing they want on it is any time missed and how much makeup/PTO you're using. They deduct pay for any time missed that's not made up or that PTO does not cover. They ask to not submit your full clock in/out and lunches, just any time missed. I do, however, keep a notebook of my in, out, and lunch times, and have always done so. I'm always super early to work so that I can take an hour lunch every day. It's allowed, and a few others do this as well. Issue: some of the upper management do not like me. I really don't know why, but it's very apparent in the micromanagement style of this place, and so Karen watches me like a hawk. I always get here before her. She waltzes in 10 minutes late every day. She has apparently complained to my supervisor that I take very long lunches and am never around when she calls me. Karen suggested that I was likely fudging my timesheets because there's no way I was not using PTO while being gone for so long every day at lunch. This launched, because she is a fixture here, an investigation into my timesheets. Long story short, they pulled me into my supervisor's office to discuss the issue. They stated that because my timesheets were not explicit, that they had to assume I was doing this, and that they were assuming that it had been going on for a while and were preparing to fire me based off Karen's suggestions. I then pipe up with, "But yes, I can prove my times." I then pull out my time log and they go somewhat quiet. After evaluating my time log, which took a good 45 minutes, they discovered that they in fact owed me 2 hours of PTO because of my overestimations. I was free to leave. As I walk out of my office, Karen is in my office, seemingly about to start cleaning my personal stuff out. When she saw me sit back down, she was fuming. I heard her stomp into my supervisor's office and scream at him for 10 minutes. Everything was pretty muffled, but you could easily get the gist that she was mad I was not being fired. And our second story. Gets fired, ends up with promotion instead. This story comes from when I used to work for a big global big box store that may or may not start with a W. As an aside, they also aren't known for how well they treat staff either. At the time this happened, I worked in the storeroom unloading trucks and bringing stock to the floor to be stocked by the overnight crew. Our shift at the time was 3:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. Our store manager made it clear that no overtime was permitted to be worked, anything over 9 hours by company policy. This meant at the latest we had to leave by 12:30 a.m. We usually cut it close because we were chronically understaffed for various reasons. I knew this night was going to be bad the moment I arrived. We had 6 workers scheduled, yet 2 called in sick, including the shift lead. This meant that I was put in charge as I had the most experience, and the day shift managers all loved me because I worked my butt off. I then checked our delivery schedule, and it showed 2 semi-trucks, both with over 2,000 items each that needed to be unloaded. In addition, another truck was expected to have 20-plus pallets of stock. This meant we had over 4,000 items that needed to be unloaded by hand with only 4 workers to do it. In addition, we were also responsible for scanning items out of the overstock bins and bringing them to the floor if the system detected an item needed to be restocked. Needless to say, the shift sucked. We didn't get our first break until almost 10 p.m., and around 7 p.m. the system dropped about 350 items that needed to be scanned out of the overstock bins, and there were almost 200 bins we would need to search for this stuff. As the shift lead, the fact we were so far behind was my fault. Definitely didn't have anything to do with being overworked with unachievable time targets. So the overnight managers arrived at 10:30 p.m. and one of them went ballistic and yelled at me. Cool, whatever, I don't care. I'll just leave at 12 a.m. So here's where the compliance comes in, to a point. 12 a.m. comes around and the manager refuses to let us leave. Doors get locked with keys only managers have and alarms are set. One of the four of us is a college student and has an exam at 8 a.m., so they let him go. 12:30 a.m. rolls around and we start to leave. Again, not allowed to leave by manager. Keep in mind, overtime is not allowed, and after 12:30, we were in overtime. One of the three remaining of my crew has childcare issues, so they let him leave. At 1 a.m., the overnight crew goes on break, and the doors are unlocked so manager can smoke. My only remaining crew member just walks out, and manager lets him go without argument. I was working, so didn't know until after doors were relocked. 3 a.m. rolls around, and night crew goes for lunch. I'm fed up with manager's attitude as he's been harassing me for the last 2 hours about not being done without offering any help. I decide that I'm going home. As I walk out the doors, manager is standing there. Manager, where are you going? Are you done? Me, nope, still about 20 pallets to go and about 80 overstock items to be picked from the bins. Go back and finish. You can't leave. I'm already 2.5 hours into overtime. I'm going home. Do we need to go into the office and talk about your poor attitude and lack of work ethic? I'm PO'd at this point. Screw you, manager. I'm going home. Don't come back. You're fired. Have fun explaining to store manager why you fired me. I'll be sure to tell him all about the shift tonight. I then left and went home. About 5-ish hours later, 8 a.m., I get a phone call from the store. It's the store manager and he wants to talk to me. Can I come in for a meeting at noon? I say sure, I'll be there. I get to the store just before noon and get escorted into the store manager's office by one of the day managers. Store manager, I hear you had some overtime last night. Care to explain why? Me, explains everything that happened above. So you left at 3 a.m.? Yes. And manager said you were fired, correct? Yes. Well, he isn't allowed to do that. What you told me matches what the other night manager said happened. As a result, manager's being moved to day shift for retraining. You also are not fired. We need a new overnight stockroom lead, and I'd like to offer it to you. It comes with $1 an hour night shift bonus and $1 an hour raise. Me, I'll take it. I'd been trying for this position anyway. When do I start? You start tomorrow night if you want. Great. Thank you, store manager. I then went home and told my family, who were quite happy with the turnout, especially my mom, who also worked at the store and was rather PO'd about what happened. And our third story. Borrow money from my friends and I? Have fun getting discharged. This began in November of 2016. I'd been in my unit for a few months and my squad leader called me the morning after our birthday ball and asked to borrow some money because his wife got in trouble and needed to be bailed out of jail. I thought this was a little odd, so I told him I couldn't understand him and asked him to text me his request in order to have documentation and to cover my butt in case something happened. So, in the effort to be a good Marine, I gave him $250 and he promised to pay me back when we got paid again. He told me that I couldn't tell anyone about this. A few minutes later, he calls my friend who's sitting beside me and gives him the same story and asks for money as well. My friend gives him $1,100. Next paycheck comes and we don't get our money back and he never brings it up again. We then leave Hawaii in January for our biggest training operation, and my squad leader is telling us how he signed a re-enlistment contract to be a drill instructor and received an $8,000 bonus, but he still didn't pay us back. We then found out he was leaving the unit in May to go to his school, and if he left, we'd never get our money back. We returned to Hawaii at the end of February, and my friend and I start bringing this up the chain of command to my team leader, another squad leader, the platoon sergeant, and finally the company staff knew about it. The other squad leader kept us in the loop and told us that he would make sure we got our money back, and NCIS was informed. In April, my company was designated to be OPFOR during a training op in the jungle, and afterwards we were told all Marines ranked Lance Corporal and below would be debriefing the other commands and what we saw and they could do better. Then a captain walks in and starts telling us that my squad leader was taking money from Marines, and if we had anything to say, he would be taking statements. I like to keep track of everything that happens to me. I never delete text messages, emails, or call logs. I gave the captain printouts of our conversations and bank records showing the transaction I sent to him. I ensured that my friend did as well. A few weeks go by and the investigation is complete. My squad leader was removed from my company, busted down a rank, his re-enlistment contract and bonus was canceled. Then he was discharged from the Marine Corps, other than honorably, I assume. I didn't expect to get my money back. I was just happy that he got what he had coming, and then I went on pre-deployment leave. After I returned, I had a check for my borrowed money waiting for me with my first sergeant. My friend and I got every cent of our money back. And our last story. Beat a Craigslist scammer at his own game. So I was hunting for a rental house for the Valentine's Day weekend and wasn't finding much, so I popped into the local Craigslist page and found a place at a decent but very believable price. No contact info or website, so I emailed through the Craigslist relay. Everything sounds legit up until he asked me to pay using Zelle or bank transfer. Immediately I knew it was a scam, but I played along acting confused because I'd never used Zelle. He sends me the Zelle info to send the payment. At this point, I reverse image search the cabin and find the actual property owner info and call him. He confirmed that he'd had this scam happen before, and angry people show up expecting a rental that is already legitimately reserved and demanding a refund. I give him the links and info to the fake Craigslist posting so he can report it. So now I have confirmed that this is a 100% scam. I also decide to have a go at the guy and see how far I can get. After a few more confused-sounding emails regarding how to get the money to him over Zelle, I send him the request, but instead of paying him, I send it as a request for payment. I send a few more messages saying it's not going through, and then I get a notification saying a payment has been received. Sure enough, he approved my payment request and sent me the money he was trying to get me to send him. So I had over $400 sitting in my Zelle account from a guy in Nigeria who was trying to scam me out of my romantic weekend. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.